Welcome back, mathematicians, to another math lesson. It's me, Professor Pandemic, here to teach you about comparing decimals today. So in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at a couple decimals, and we're going to have to figure out which one is greater than, less than, or maybe equal to. And then we may have to figure out where some of these decimals fit in the middle. So for this problem, I have 7 and 3/10. And when we read decimals, remember, we always call this decimal an and. We don't go 7.3 or 7.3. 7 and 3/10. This is 7 and 216 thousandths. Because again, we have the tenths place, the hundredths place, and the thousandths place. So you read the number just like you say it, 216, and then you add that thousandths there. So 7 and 216 thousandths. When I'm comparing decimals, at first glance, you might think, oh, I see a 3 here after the decimal, and I see a 216. And maybe you think the 216 is bigger than 3. Well, remember, friends, when we're comparing decimals, we have to go a place at a time. So what I do is I look, and I see there's only 2 digits here and 4 digits here. So what I do is I like to line up the decimals so I can see where we are. So I'm going to write 7 and 3/10 there, and then I'm going to write 7 and 216 thousandths here. I need to make this number the same length as that number. So how do you do that? You add zeros to the end. And now the numbers are exactly the same. And if you notice, 7, both of those numbers are the same. But after doing this, you can see 216 and 300. You can see that 300 is a little bit bigger. That's because 3/10 is bigger than 2/10. And as we know, if you want to eat something, you always want to eat more. So the friendly neighborhood alligator is going to eat this 3/10. So 7 and 3/10 is greater than 7 and 216 thousandths. This is an easy way to come down here and look at the zeros and kind of visually see why that 3/10 is bigger than that 2/10. Let's try another example. So in this example, we have 4 and 7/10 and 4 and 768 thousandths. We have to figure out which one's larger than the other. So we do the same thing here. We come down and I take the 4 and 7/10. And now I take my 4 and I make sure the decimals are lined up. So again, they're lined up with the ones place, decimal, tenths place, hundredths place, thousandths place. And remember, when you're lining things up, you make sure the decimals line up. It doesn't matter where the other numbers are. The decimals have to line up. We add this 0 and another 0. So now each number has the exact same number of digits. And then we go and see. 4 and 4, exactly the same. So I cross those off. 7/10 and 7/10, exactly the same. I have to go to the next step. 0 and 6. 6/100 is larger than 0, which means the alligator is going to eat the bigger number. This one, you would say, 4 and 7/10 is less than 4 and 768 thousandths. So, when we come back, we're going to have a couple examples for you to practice in your live meeting. All right, mathematicians, we have 4 different examples for you to work on in your chat together or by yourself. Can you come up with the answers to all 4 of these questions? Can you compare these decimals? I'll be back in 30 seconds to give you the answer. Did you get the right answer, mathematicians? Let's go over these and find out. So my first question here, I have 3 and 246 thousandths and 3 and 619 thousandths. They're exactly the same, so no need to add zeros. So I just start with the ones place. Both 3 and 3 are the same, so I cross that off. I see 2 and 6. 6 is the larger number, which means I am going to eat the 3 and 619 thousandths. So I have a less than sign here. When I go down to the next one, notice I have to add a 0 here to make sure all my numbers are the same in length. And then I start with the ones place here. 4 is smaller than 5, so I don't even have to go to a decimal place to see that the 5 is larger. And again, we have a less than sign here. So 4 and 98 hundredths is less than 5 and 2/10. I switch over here. 17 and 3/10 and 6 and 9/10. So even though the decimals end here, I might put a 0 there just to show, because you have to start with the tens place here. So 1 is bigger than 0, which means this is greater than. So 17 and 3/10 is greater than 6 and 9/100. And then the last one here, 4 and 5/10, 4 and 300 and 7/100. I add my zeros. Let's see how it goes. Cross it off. Oh, 5 is greater than 3. So 4 and 5/10 is greater than 4 and 307 thousandths. Did you get all 4? Did you get 3, 2, or 1? Hopefully whatever your score is will be increased or remain the same as we try the next 4 problems. All right, 5th graders. We have 4 more additional problems to solve. So, take a minute in your group and see if you can get the correct answer to all 4 of these questions. All right, friends, let's go over it. So, 3 and 5/10 and 3 and 426 thousandths. Put my zeros. 3's are the same. I see my 5 is greater than 4. So 3 and 5/10 is greater than 3 and 426 thousandths. Same thing here. Make sure all my numbers are the same. The 9's are the same. The tenths places are the same, but the hundredths places, 300ths is bigger than 200ths, which means I would write my less than sign. 9 and 821 thousandths is less than 9 and 883 hundredths. Switch sides. Bam. We've got 7 and 4/10 and 7 and 43 hundredths. Make the 0. 1's are the same. 10's are the same. Tenths are the same. Our hundredths are not, which means our 3 is larger. So 7 and 4/10 is less than 7 and 43 hundredths. And then our last one right here, make sure we're the same. 1's places are the same. And the tenths places are not. 3/10 is larger than 1/10. So we have 8 and 12 hundredths being less than 8 and 315 thousandths. So, hopefully you're starting to see this. There is one more thing we have to do for this lesson. So, stay tuned for the last part of comparing decimals. So mathematicians, sometimes you're asked if a number is smaller or larger than a set of data. So here I have 3 and 2/10 and 3 and 37 hundredths. The first thing is I'm going to make those the same so I can see where my number falls. And then you might be given a set of numbers and you're asked, does it fall in between? Is it bigger? Is it larger? So let's say I have 3 and 31 hundredths. So I look, everything's the same, and I see 3. Well, that goes there, and I see 3. So right there, and 1. My tenths and hundredths kind of work, and then my hundredths place, the 1 goes in between 0 and 7. So this would fall in between this number. Now, let's say we have a different number. Let's say we have 4 and 5/10. Well, right away, you can see that 4 is bigger than 3. 4 is going to be outside of this range of information. So that obviously is a greater than number. It wouldn't fall in the middle. So you can use these numbers to sometimes compare digits. Let's say I had 3 and 19 hundredths. Well, I look again at my 1's place. They're the same. My 10's place, 1 would come up here, which means this number is smaller than that. So what we're going to do here in a minute is I'm going to have a couple numbers, and we're going to have to decide whether or not it falls in between this set of data or not. So let's see if we can figure that out. So friends, my 2 numbers I have are 4 and 21 hundredths and 4 and 293 thousandths. And then I have my 4 numbers over here. And my question is to you is, do these numbers fall in between these 2? If it does, just put a little yes next to that number. If it doesn't, put a little N next to that number. So, I'll give you a couple seconds here. Let's see if you can figure Did you figure it out, friends? Well, let's find out. So the first thing I would do, just like everything else, is I would make sure that these numbers are the same. And I would also look and make sure all my other numbers are the same. So now that I see 4 and 4 here, and I see all my ones places are 4, I'm pretty sure I don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to cross those off. So let's see, I go to my tens place now. 2, 3, 2, and 2. Well, this 3 is larger than this 2, which means this number is not going to fit into this range of information, so I'm going to put a no there. The rest of them are 2, so that doesn't give me information, so I'm going to cross that off. And now I'm going to go to the hundreds place. 8, 1, 0, 5. Well, this 0 is smaller than 1. So right here, that's going to tell me this also falls outside my informational range. This 5 tells me, wait, 1 goes in between, 5 goes in between 1 and 9. So that would be a yes. And 8 goes in between 1 and 9, which means that would also be a yes. So we didn't even have to make it to the thousands place. So our answer should have been yes, no, no, and yes. And this is how you can also find out if you have numbers that are greater or less than a certain amount of information. So friends, hopefully this gives you a little more information on how to compare decimals for your assignment for today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. For all 5th grade teachers, I'm Professor Pandemic saying enjoy your math, and we'll see you at the next lesson.